All right. So today on Word Jazz, as you might have noticed from the title, it's all about bees. I know personally, I'm going to be talking a lot about the 1920s. Lots of fun sayings in the 20s. I'll give you a sneak preview. Polywoppus.
Polywoppus.
Yeah, isn't that fun to say? Say it a
That's
couple times.
pretty funny.
Polywoppus.
Polywoppus.
Yeah, they got lots of other weird ones. What about you, Sam?
So I'm talking about the birds and the bees, not talking about the actual process, just the origin of the I feel like that's your own job to do. You know, that's not our job.
Yeah, you're not going to explain. He's not going to explain it to your kids.
Just to be clear, I'm explaining the origin of the phrase. I'm not explaining to your kids how babies are made. How babies are made. All right, and then Taylor, are you talking about anything else, or are we good to go?
That's good.
We're good?
We're good.
All right, let's roll the thing.
Jazz, a short-form podcast about the etymology of words, slang, and expressions.
Hey, you're listening to Word Jazz. I'm Sam.
I'm Taylor.
Hey, how's it going, Taylor?
Oh, excellent. So you're going to tell us about the origin of the phrase, the birds and the bees.
Yeah, the birds and the bees, I mean, we all know what that process is.
How babies are made.
Well, okay, I want to know, how did you get the,
oh boy.
How was that brought up?
You're in for a treat, specifically a breakfast treat. My parents have this tradition of taking all of me and my siblings, there's 6 of us total, but they would take each one of us to IHOP to explain the whole birds and bees process. It was like a whole thing. When you turned 8, you got to go on a special dinner date with your parents at IHOP to learn how babies work.
So did they tell you and everyone around? Was it a busy time in IHOP? Was there families looking around?
I remember we were sitting in a booth and it was pretty empty, and I would keep looking around to see if anybody was listening in on us. But if they were, they certainly heard a pretty hilarious conversation with an 8-year-old. So, yep, birds and the bees.
I remember my parents sat me down, and it was kind of I thought I was in trouble. I remember they're like, we need to talk to you. I'm like, oh gosh, I think I'm in trouble. And I think I was very emotionally disturbed by the concept of it. I think I was around 9 or 10 probably when they told me. Okay, so the origin of it, though, is actually from a guy named Samuel Taylor Coleridge. He's got both of our names.
Man,
in his
Sam
name.
And Taylor.
Isn't that great?
And Coleridge.
That's kind of honestly why I did
I feel like I've heard of that guy. Who is he?
So he was this kind of poet dude, but it was kind of the first use of the birds and the bees in his 1825 collection, Work Without Hope. I mean, it was used before him, but this is the first time it was kind of used as a euphemism, love, and kind of babies and stuff. So I'll read you from his collection. All nature seems at work. Slugs leave their lair, the birds are stirring, birds are on the wing, and winter, slumbering in the open air, wears on his smiling face a dream of spring. And I the while the sole unbusy thing, nor honey make, nor pair, nor build, nor sing. So basically what he's saying is everything around him is getting busy.
Oh boy.
He's not. So
that's kind of sad.
It is a little sad, but it kind of started to coin the phrase that.
Interesting. And did it get picked up pretty quick after that?
Not particularly, actually. So it wasn't really until 1893 where it was kind of popularized. He was using it as a kind of an expression in his
poetry.
But the first use where it was kind of widespread was from Dr. Emma Frances Angell Drake. She's got a lot of names. But this was she kind of described the birds and the bees in the section of her publication, The Story of Life. It was widely distributed between 1893 and 1930. Oh, by the way, I am taking all of my information from a Live Science article, which was very informative on all this stuff. But anyway, from The Story of Life, it was widely distributed 1893 to 1930. She talked about how she was trying to explain reproduction to her daughters. And in her explanation, she used images of blue eggs in the robin's nest, wind blowing pollen dust from one plant to the other, and bees gathering honey from the flowers.
Interesting.
So she's describing reproduction and, easy to
like nature.
learn. Yeah, kind of nature.
How nature happens.
But yeah, there's been, since that use, there's been tons of different references to that. Another reference was a Cole Porter song in 1928, Let's Do It, 1939 issue of the Freeport Journal-Standard. There's a 1968 Monkees album called The Birds, the Bees, and the Monkeys.
Nice.
And then there was, like a little more recently, there was a 1995 episode of The Simpsons where Bart was talking to Milhouse about that whole process.
The birds and the bees.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty recent compared to a lot of these words that we've been researching lately. So
what was the oldest occurrence of it?
The oldest one was in
Coolidge?
1825 by this Samuel Taylor Coolidge guy. It was used like once before I believe in the late 1600s, but it wasn't really. It didn't have to do with love, like.
Okay.
And that kind of euphemism.
It wasn't the right context.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting.
Nice.
What do you have to talk about?
Way to start off our bee extravaganza.
It's a lot of about bees.
Bees.
Everyone.
It's the bee's knees, you could say.
Ooh.
Oh, find out more about that later. But first, a bee in the bonnet.
Okay. Let's talk about it.
Let me read you the dictionary definitions first. Well, actually, do you know what getting a bee in your bonnet? You know what that means?
No.
Really?
Oh, I've heard it like maybe in a. I don't know. It's one of those things I've heard. I just don't know where.
You just never really knew what that meant.
I never linked it with something.
I feel like I hear that a lot, but I guess I don't really know where. But the Oxford English Dictionary describes it as to mean a fantasy, an eccentric whim, a craze on some point, or having a screw loose. It's kind of like you get on a obsession, you got an impulse, you get a bee in your bonnet, you want to get it done, make it happen.
Okay.
It's not necessarily always you're kind of nutty, but usually you're kind of nutty. But the first recorded example was actually, it's dated at 1553, but scholars say good old Doug, this is from Gavin Douglas's Middle Scots version of the Aeneid, but good old Doug finished his translation in 1513, so it's probably older than that. But it says, "What burn be thou in bed with head full of bees?" And bees is spelled B-E-I-S, which is fun.
Did it used to have a different plural spelling to it?
I mean, this is English from 500 years ago. It's changed since then.
It's that old?
Yeah, 500 years. I mean, yeah, about 500 years.
Dang.
Yeah, pretty old. So, first instance was then. Originally, you'd think, oh, beekeepers, they wear headgear. Those are kind of like bonnets. You could get a bee in there. That'd probably be kind of crazy.
Right, yeah.
But there's nothing to draw those two together. So since then, getting a bee in your bonnet in print, there's a record of it in 1790 from Reverend Philip Doddridge's letters. And he just says, "I suppose you have heard of Mr. Coward's pranks. He has, as the Scotch call it, a bee in his bonnet." So
what's this guy's name? Doddridge?
Philip Doddridge.
That's Doddridge.
Yeah, Doddridge.
Is he English?
I do not know.
It sounds extremely English, but
he might be. Oh, actually, yes, he definitely is, because he's talking about how, as the Scotch call it, a bee in his bonnet. And so that's why we think it's maybe, not necessarily.
No.
But that's why we think it's maybe a Scottish phrase. Because at this point, people in England didn't actually wear the caps called bonnets, but the people in Scotland still did.
Oh, okay.
When he did this in 1790.
Cool.
So, yep. And a more modern reference, Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets, 2002. When Harry Potter's all like, "Yo, Sorting Hat, why am I in Gryffindor?" He's like, "I told you could have been in Slytherin." But he actually says, "Be in your bonnet, Potter."
All right, let's...
Be in your bonnet, Potter. Be in your bonnet, Potter.
Wait, is this Voldemort?
No, this is a Sorting Hat. It's a Sorting Hat.
Okay.
All right.
Cool. Yeah, so that's an interesting piece about the bee.
So what have we got? We got... What? Birds and the bees, bee in your bonnet? I think
bee in your bonnet? What else do we have?
The perfect trifecta to round it out, the bee's knees.
Ooh.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird expression.
What do you think it means?
The bee's knees is
it's
particularly cool.
Yeah,
right?
It's fun. It's good. It's excellent.
Nice.
Yeah, I think denotes excellence, one of the sources I had said. But it was first recorded in an Oxford English Dictionary in 1797, but it didn't mean like, oh, that's great, that's cool, it's excellent. It basically just meant it was small or insignificant. Kind of like today's saying, a gnat's bullock. And I've never heard that, but apparently that's today's saying. Yeah, gnat's bullock.
Ooh.
Yeah, small, insignificant.
For
so that has no
English
connection.
Listeners, this will have to be explicit.
So it's no connection to today's bee's knees. And so another theory is like bees have little pollen sacs on their legs that they use kind of fill up with things when they go back to the hive. And so you could be like, oh, a concentration of like good pollen on the bee's knees. Like the bee's knees is good. But that's also not it. It actually began in early 20th century America. It was just kind of a nonsense expression to kind of make fun of people a little bit. I have this great reading here.
Do it.
So this is from U.S. author Zane Grey's 1909 story, The Shortstop. It's just a city slicker. He's teasing a yokel, a farm dude, kind of just making fun of him, questioning about all of his make-believe like farm products. He says, I'm reading this like as it is written, just so you know. How's your ham trees? Wild doggone me. Why, over in Indiana, our ham trees is sproutin' powerful. And how about the bee's knees? Got any bee's knees this spring? It's like, you selling bee's knees?
Are you putting on an accent right now?
No, that's like how it's written. Like, yer is spelled Y-E-R.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
so you kind of have to do an accent for that.
This is strictly by the book right here.
Nice.
But again, not necessarily it was like a good thing. It was just kind of like a nonsense expression. And really the only reason the phrase is the bee's knees is because it's kind of jaunty and fun and rhymey. But in the 1920s, that's when it became fashionable to use like nonsense terms to say something was good. And this is where you get all the fun 1920s sayings. Let me read some for you. The bee's knees.
Okay.
Goes without saying. The snake's hips.
The snake's hips.
It's like, Sam, you're the snake's hips. The kipper's knickers.
The kipper's knickers.
Kipper's knickers. Cat's pajamas. That one's still used. Or the cat's whiskers. The monkey's eyebrows. Lots of good ones in the 1920s. Most of them died out. But people still say the bee's knees, kind of.
Yeah, it's interesting. So cat's pajamas and bee's knees are still
those ones
kind
of went through. I feel like the snake's hips.
The snake's hips.
Why didn't
should
that
be,
survive?
Let's
it should have. Bring it back.
That should be on our a t-shirt.
Oh, yeah, it's good. But yeah, actually, there's an Ohio newspaper that came out with a flapper dictionary. So that's how we knew it was kind of new to that time, since the paper sort of had to run a dictionary of like the slang of the time. It'd be like today's having like, ooh, the young kids dictionary. What does totes mean?
Wait, so when would that 1920s one get published? Do you know?
That was 1922 in an Ohio newspaper called the Newark Advocate in April.
Nice.
Lots of good things. Yeah, the flapper dictionary. The other words they had in there, they had cluck. That means you're a dumb person.
Ooh.
Dumb cluck is worse than a cluck. Goes without saying. Polywoppus, that just means meaningless stuff.
Oh, you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, polywoppus, meaningless stuff. And then flypaper is a guy who sticks around. You're like, oh, that Ted over there, he's such a flypaper, always
Ted
hanging
in
around.
the corner over there. Hey,
loitering. Yeah. And that is the bee's knees. There's also a flapper dancer who made the Charleston popular in the 1920s called Bee Jackson that sometimes people sort of think maybe that helped the expression grow, but the expression started before she was around. But she definitely might have made it grow more since she was very popular.
That's awesome.
Bee Jackson.
Well, are we wrapped up with all of our words this week?
Keep it real. Keep it fun. I hope you have a snake's hips of a week.
I don't know if that makes sense, but that's the snake's hips right there. So we're actually going to go weekly here soon instead of, I think last episode we said we're going to go once every 2 weeks, but now we're going to go once a week because we really like making these and the research is really fun. But yeah, Taylor, do you have anything else to say? Oh, for sure. If you have any words that you think have super interesting histories, feel free to drop us an email at wordjazzpodcast@gmail.com or on, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of those places. Yeah, right. Well, we'll see you next week. See ya. Thanks to Reagan Clancy for letting us use some of his music from his project Animal Midnight. You can check Animal Midnight out at bandcamp.com.
Be sure to check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We also have a website, wordjazzpodcast.com. And if you want to drop us a line, feel free to contact us either one of those places or email us at wordjazzpodcast@gmail.com. You can also become a patron. Join us on patreon.com/wordjazz and get a monthly subscription to get early releases of podcasts, behind the scenes special videos, special merchandise, and much, much more.